You might be living together, engaged or married right now, and now you're wondering about taking the next step, the big commitment of homeownership. The truth behind buying a house together is more than just simply playing house, getting your Pinterest and getting your Instagram going on with all the pictures and what you're going to be doing to your new place. It goes a bit deeper into the financials, and the question really becomes, can your relationship handle buying a house together? Let's find out. My name is Andrew Finney, and my passion is helping you make sense of real estate. If you need help finding a top agent near you, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. All right, my friend, let's take a closer look at why it's so hard sometimes for some families, for some couples to get on the same sheet of music to buy a house. I mean, consider the last time you had a disagreement. It might have been something as simple as getting ready to go eat somewhere or what kind of car to buy next. When we're talking about the house, the place that you want to buy together, it is a financial commitment together to live in this house and make it your own. There's some really interesting studies that have come out about how much couples disagree depending on how long they've been in a relationship. Let's take a look at 4 of the things that you should think about to make sure that your relationship is ready to buy a house. The first thing is you're more alike the longer that you're together. So what does that mean exactly? If you're newer in a relationship, let's say somewhere under 2 years, it can be extremely difficult to be able to purchase a home together and get on the same sheet of music. You may have one partner in the relationship that is thinking, hey, I'm not willing to compromise on that 3-car garage, and the other might say, hey, I really want a kitchen island and I'm not willing to compromise on that. Something to consider about with kitchen islands, by the way, not only are they like really cool and really helpful in a kitchen, but you can also make your own, and you can also make a movable island in the kitchen that can function the same. Something to think about kind of as a side note there. Now, going back to our relationships, the longer that you're together, and this plays out in real estate practice all the time here in Las Vegas with the families that I represent, and it's the same around the country. So what it is like the longer that they're together, the easier it is for them to know exactly what the other person's thinking, or at least ways to know how to ask the questions that are the right questions to be asking their significant other to find out what's most important. Like, hey sweetie, hey, I really like to have a 3-car garage. And then the other person in the relationship says, well honey, I really would like to have a kitchen island. And then it becomes, okay, of those two, if we found a house that was exactly everything that you wanted, but it missed the kitchen island, what would you do? Or if it missed the garage, how would you choose to move forward? That's where the conversation really boils down to what is something that you're willing to compromise on or not. And that's when we help get clarity and focus moving forward. But it's really important to know, depending on how long you've been together, that you may have more or less difficulty in getting on the same page to begin with. It's always a good idea to sit down with the trusted real estate advisor. It never surprises me when I meet with families and sometimes I'm asking them, okay, how many bedrooms do you want? How many bathrooms do you want? What size of home? What area? What's most important to you about your new home? And sometimes, one of them gives an answer like, hey, you know what? That 3-car garage is really extremely important. I really would like to have a man cave. And the wife's like, I had no idea that was so important to you. Then she shares how important having a kitchen island is to her. And he's like, sweetheart, I didn't really know that was so important to you. I just thought it was a nice thing to have. But by having that conversation in a respectful and encouraging way, we can empower you to help you get on the same page together to help us focus on what kind of home that you're going to most appreciate. Just be aware that depending on how long you've been together, it could be more or less of a challenge. Either way, open and honest communication is essential to your success. The second cause is fear of debt. So when we're talking about fear of debt in our relationship, let's face it, homes cost hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars depending on the price point that you're looking at. It can be absolutely anxiety provoking sometimes taking out that kind of credit to purchase a home. And that's okay. It's only natural to feel that. And the fact that you feel that is a good thing because it means that you're responsible and that you're planning for your future together with your financials. Now, it comes as no surprise. This is where a lot of couples butt heads because you normally have someone that's saying, hey, we got the max of pre-approval at like $500,000. We should get $500 and we should probably look at homes up to $525 because maybe the seller's negotiable and willing to come down to our loan amount of $500. And then the other one might be more thrifty and saying, hey, hon, that's something that's kind of appealing, and yeah, I get where you're coming from, but we also got to temper this with realistic affordability for what we're comfortable with spending on our monthly mortgage every month. And remember that we still would like to have a lifestyle of some kind as opposed to being house broke. So it's important to get on the same sheet of music there. Now, you watch some programs on like HGTV or Bravo Network of people buying homes, love it, list it, renovations or whatever, and they make it look like it's so glamorous and so much fun. And yeah, guess what? It can be. At the same time, it doesn't always show the drama behind the scenes. They just simply show everything moving along nice and smooth, as opposed to showing some of the conversations that have to be had, the heart-to-hearts, the one-on-ones, to make it real, to come together, and the compromises that each other makes for each other and with each other to find the right home for them. Just be aware that disagreements are completely normal. It's how you handle them that really counts. By keeping and maintaining open, honest communication, being respectful, and validating the other person in the relationship will lend to a very worthwhile conversation that will provide the fruits that you'll need to be able to move forward into your new home. Another thought that I'd like to share with you is that sometimes people say, hey, you know what, we got in an argument, it's a sign that we shouldn't be buying a house together. It's not necessarily the case. Arguments and disagreements are completely normal, as are compromises. It just is part of the process. With a loving, respectful relationship, you can and you will succeed. The third thing to remember is that the key to success is compromise. Now, when we're talking about compromise, we got to back it up a moment to what we were just saying. And it's really important to double down on the fact that open, honest communication in a loving and respectful environment is the environment that will produce a meaningful conversation to help you both understand each other. But the really cool thing is here is that done correctly, it actually makes your relationship even stronger. It brings you closer together and gives you more insight into what your loved one is thinking as y'all move forward in life together. Just remember that before any compromise can be made, both partners have to feel listened to and validated why their preferences are important and what their thoughts are. So express this openly together. One thing that I want you to both think about when you're having this conversation is the home affordability. Too oftentimes, I meet with the people that really want to push their max pre-approval. And look, if you want to push your max pre-approval and that's something that you're truly comfortable with doing, that's absolutely cool. It's your decision. Do what feels right and do what you believe is best for you. No one can tell you what's wrong and no one can tell you what's right for you except for you. That being said, the reason I ask you to really consider this is if you're getting ready to buy a house and that house is going to be like a $500,000 house and you're talking about a $3,000 a month mortgage or whatever the case may be between your conversation with your loan officer, the down payment obviously that you put on, and your rate that you get, the fact of the matter is when you get a pre-approval, it's based off of your gross income, not your net income. So in other words, the taxes that Uncle Sam takes out of your pocket have not been calculated in that equation. Sometimes what happens is whenever people get into home buying mode, let's face it, it's going to be an emotional decision to buy a house. What I'm asking you to do beforehand is approach it with some logic and approach it with some forethought about realistically how much is a comfortable amount of money to you. Don't set the bar too low, but at the same time, don't set the bar too high that'll be difficult for you to achieve. The reason is because if that monthly mortgage amount isn't in keeping with what's going on in your marketplace, it could set you up for disappointment. The reason I ask you not to go too high is because it could be disastrous 3 to 4 years in the future if one of you unfortunately got sick or there was an emergency that happened and something made it so that you couldn't pay your mortgage. You could be facing foreclosure or short sale situations if that happened a lot going on in the future. I'd like to see you not get hurt. So I don't say anything in our conversation right now to scare you, but I say it to prepare you to be prepared not only to work together, but also how to really get real and think about what's most important to you about your new home. Obviously, one of those things should be the affordability factor, in addition to the location, in addition to the style of house and the amenities that the home provides. But the one thing to keep in perspective with everything in the conversation that's going on are the monthly financials to make sure that you can also enjoy the lifestyle that you want to live together. The fourth thing is that success always ends well together. Despite some of the conversations and the challenges that are going to unfold and the potential arguments going on, getting on the same sheet of music before you get into home buying mode is extremely powerful and will only result in your success. When you close on your new home and you get the keys to your new place, all of those conversations, all the stress, all the frustration will be forgotten, and you'll be ready to enjoy filling the walls of your new home with love and happiness and enjoyment inviting people over to your house and the great memories that you'll share together. Remember the reasons why you're buying a house together and what's most important to you. It'll help you keep perspective during your home buying journey. All right, my friend, I hope this has been a very heart-to-heart conversation with you and something that you can take and share with your significant other. Now that you've considered some of the challenges you may face, let's talk about how to find your ideal home and the 5 compromises not to make when buying your first home. Looking forward to our next conversation. We'll see you in a few.